Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. We're almost done with the door. It's been a long struggle to get here. I'll show you what I did.
Earbud warning. It was raining pretty heavily. Here's a small sample, and remember, I turned this down. Yep, pretty loud, isn't it? Well, the rest of the video is going to be muted, and I'm just going to do voiceover. With the steel tube up, I was able to slide the springs onto the tube at least once. Well, actually, I think I did it about 3 times altogether by the time I was finished. But I slid the spring on and then slid it down where it belonged, next to the main support in the center, knowing that I was going to have to put the pulleys on both ends. The process calls for all those pieces to be put onto the tube, and then 2 guys lift it up and set it into the bearings. Well, there was me, and then there was myself, and I just stood back and watched. I have to climb back down and get the other spring because they were too big to carry both of them at the same time. And believe it or not, they were pretty wobbly too. Getting my way through everything. Definitely didn't want to take a misstep. Trying to recover from a 4-foot step. I don't think I could do that anymore. I don't bounce like I used to. Fighting to get the spring over that tube because the spring was so limber, the tube wouldn't line up with the hole in the end of the spring. I could get it fed into the one side, but the other side kept wobbling around, and because it was long enough that I couldn't really hold both ends of it in one hand, I had somewhat of a problem getting it on there, but I managed. Now I stuffed it back in the bearing on the bracket on the right hand side, and now that part's done. Flip on the pulley. That's pretty much it for the moment. Next is putting the cable on. Sure, I'm slow climbing that ladder. And the springs get bolted to the center bracket with 2 bolts. Have to kind of fish things around to get them over there. Torsion springs lift up the door using a couple of cables, one on each end. That means I got to get down to my prayer bones and reach in there and hook that cable up. Not exactly easy. First part's getting my knees to bend where I want them to. Yep, got to lift that leg up. It just doesn't want to cooperate. Up we go. The little crimped end into the pulley and spin the pulley around and wind up that cable on there, and we're ready to go. outside, it's a little harder to reach in there because it's on, I'd have to use my left hand. So I laid down on a piece of mat, and got in there with a screwdriver and popped the cable on. Wasn't easy, but it worked. Once again, I put the little crimped on end in the pulley, spun it around, and ready to go.
Now, the pipe can't come out this direction. It's locked in by this pulley. So I can go down to the other end and tighten up that cable. And then I'll be able to come in and tighten up the spring. Cable's secure on this end. Pulley's tightened down. I'm going to go over and make sure I've got that tube pulled up. And then I'm going to pull up the cable on that end. But first I need to put a pair of vice grips on that tube to make sure that this side stays locked. So I'm going to have to go get a pair of vice grips. Okay, went down to the hardware store, bought a piece of 1/2 inch coal roll, 36 inches long, marked it at 18, I'm going to mark right there, and I'm going to clamp it down to the drill press and cut it off. And I found that these cutoff wheels that I got at Tractor Supply work quite well, but they decompose rapidly too. And they make an awful lot of dust. I've had a bad cough now for about a month, bronchitis, but the dust doesn't help at all. There. All done. Fit perfect. Now let's see if I can get these sandbags off the pallet. Okay, I have the springs up. Have the springs up. I have the pulleys on. I have the cables connected. Have them drawn up snug. Have the door clamped down on both sides so it can't rise up while I tighten up the spring. Got to wind them up. So I'm not going to climb up on top of the ladder and try and tighten springs right now. I'm getting really tired. I've only got so many hours in a day I can work, and I think I've run out of time. But I am so close to being done. Just don't want to screw this up by doing something when I shouldn't. If you have any suggestions for new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Yeah, it's raining. A lot of it's just dripping off the tree, but it's raining. Thanks for watching.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.